Alright, let's take a look at updating. It's kind of fun to know that we're building something we can reuse hundreds of times over. So let's go to the update. So this one's a little bit different than what we've been doing. Basically, what we want to be able to do is a couple of things. Number one is we want to be able to say this user model update. Let's say login is going to be TED, where some custom parameter like date created is 0, something like that, if we had a different password field. Okay, so we want more options for this. What else do we need? Let's take a look. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is for the first parameter, the data, we're going to just call this, new data. And for the second parameter, this is going to be our where. Okay, so we already know that we want to update, so we have this good stuff here. We'll say this table, and this will be new data. Okay, so with the where statement, let's see, we're going to want to detect if it's numeric again, so if is numeric of where, let me control Z back, where. I will tell you I'm hitting escape a lot to get rid of those pop-ups, if that helps you. I'll say if is array of where. Okay, so let's just cut up one of those wheres, and for this, what we're going to assume is if they pass just an integer, it's just going to reflect the primary key set in the sub model. In this case, the primary key is user ID. I like to keep them consistent and very, very simple. So we'll say where this primary key equals where. Okay. For this guy, it looks like we will be able to do a bunch of stuff. It'll just be a copy of the where statement. Let's see this little for each guy here. So let me just, this is the same for each we've used in all the other ones, except we're going to change this to where key value. Okay. Okay. Now I'm not 100% certain on how this will function, so let's give it a test run. I'm actually going to open Heidi SQL so we can take a look at a couple things. And let me go to junior dash user data. Okay, my window's a little big. So I want to update ID 26 right here, and I just want to set his password to something. So under test, I'm just going to say result equals this user model update, and I'll say array password equals piggy. And where will that happen? What was it, 28 or 26? 26. Okay, like this. And this should return the affected rows, so I'll go ahead and refresh, and it says 1. So I'll just double check the database and press F5, and it says piggy. So that's good so far. We want to be kind of careful with this, so let's update a couple more records, and let's just change this to dog, and let's change login to hen, just to try it out, make sure it can update multiple values. We got a result of 1 once we refresh the page. I'll refresh, and it changes to hen and dog, so that is working quite well. One thing is, if they do not pass in an ID or something here, we're going to have a serious problem. Just like the delete, it'll update every single table, and I really think we want to prevent that. So again, like the delete, in our last video, you see how we had this else if and else. We're going to kind of do the same thing pretty much so that we don't kick ourselves in the foot later. And we'll just say you must pass a second parameter to the update method. Okay, so this way, if they pass in data and they forget to put something there, or you forget to do that, we refresh, and we don't want it to update every table with the new data. That'd be a nightmare. Okay, so our next thing is our other where statement. So we can have another array. So I'll say array, and I apologize for using these old school arrays, but it's good to change it up and kind of get in the habit of backwards compatibility here and there. So what I'm looking for is in the database, I want to update where login equals Marcus3. You see we have Marcus3 here twice, so I want my where statement to target that. Marcus3. And let's see what happens. I'll go ahead and refresh, and it says 2. I'll go here and refresh. There goes hen, hen, dog, dog. Excellent. Looks like it's working pretty smoothly. And I'm not going to leave you here. We're going to make it a little bit more fun. We're going to add an insert update feature. So that we're not bored to death, this might actually come in handy sometime. Let's say public function insert update. Okay. And the way this is going to work is if the record exists, it's going to update. If it does not exist, it's going to insert. So we'll say usage insert update, and this will have pretty much just data for the first one. So let's just call this data, and let's say name is Ted, and then we can have a key. So like let's say 12. So it's first going to check if that record exists. Otherwise, it will insert it if it does not. So with that, let's just try it with that. So we'll say ID. The first thing we have to do is a query. So I'll say this DB select this primary key. Whoops. We only need to select the primary key because it's we don't need to select every field, just to save a little bit of memory. And I'll say Q numRows, Q equals that, and okay. So this is our query, except I do not have a get. So let me do a, that is not right. Q equals this DB get this table. Okay, and we're typing abstractly where things are very fillable. So sometimes it takes a minute to pause and look at what we're doing. This database select just a primary key, get from that table, and we're going to need a where statement. So this DB where this, whoops, primary key equals ID. Okay. Insert update with the ID. Okay. Let me just return result, and I want to test this out before we get crazy. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and comment this stuff out, and we'll say result equals this user model insert update, and in here this will be our array. We'll say login is going to be Donnie, and down here I'll just say 23. I don't think there's an ID for that, so refresh, and it does look like there's an ID. Interesting. Refresh 23. Yes, there is an ID. So we know that does behave correctly. I want to be real careful here because I want to make sure that an ID is always passed. So I'm going to say if not ID, and we'll just copy our die statement. and say you must pass a second parameter to the insert update method. Now you can name these die statements however you like. I'm just trying to cover our bases. So I'll just say false is default. It should never be false, but if it is, that's bad. Okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to say if result equals 0, it's going to be an update. Okay? Else, it's going to be an insert. So, heavens, I believe we could just call our current methods that we created. We could say this insert or this update. So I'll say this insert, and the data will just be data. And I will return that. For the update, I'll say return this update data ID. Like that. Okay. And when we're returning stuff, we actually don't need to have an else statement here, like so, because once this returns data, it finishes execution. So let's see what happens. I'll go ahead and refresh, and it says 27, and that would be an update. So I'll go ahead and refresh. Oh, I'm sorry, that would be an insert. That's a new primary key. Let's try that again. With 23, this should have updated it, not create a new record. So, whoops, I accidentally closed that. So let's see, echo update, echo insert, and let's say echo result. See what's going on here. Let me reopen test for us. And insert update, login is Donnie, ID is 23, we know it exists, and it's doing an insert, and it says 1 because I got my numbers wrong. So if result equals 0, we do an insert. Sorry guys, sometimes your brain just won't behave. Okay, let's try that once more. Refresh. Gives us 1, which should be true. So ID number 23, I'll refresh, and it says Donnie. Good. I can try to change that up again to, let's say, Don2. Donnie2, sorry. Refresh, we get true. And let's open this up. Refresh, there's Donnie2. Beautiful. Okay, so now we have an insert update that will think for us. And that'll be it for the CRUD model for now, unless we stumble upon some serious errors. I will make this code available in the downloads too.